Today we are going to talk about digital identity. My name is Galit. Michel, I'm VP Payment at Forter. I've been around the payment and fraud industry for many, many years, I think over 15 years, dealing a lot with how to optimize payment. With Forter, I'm VP Payment. At Forter, we have a trust platform, and we want to make sure that you know who to trust as a merchant, and that your trusted consumers will get the best customer experience, will get a frictionless experience, and of course, that they will be able to pay at the end successfully. Today, we are going to talk about how to go from payment optimization to payment personalization. We want to understand digital identity. So what is digital identity? What is it not? How can personalization actually impact conversion and revenue? And how do you build greater trust with merchants and customers? Let's start with a real example. So it's 1 a.m. There is a 5,000 euro attempt to purchase on my card on a website that I've never visited before. My issuer looks at the transaction and decides to decline it. Why did that happen? It happened because my issuer was looking at specific data points, the time, the fact that normally I don't shop at this time, the high amount, the website I've never visited before. And my issuer got to a conclusion that this is someone else trying to use my card, and obviously it's a fraudulent attempt, and they should decline it. What really happened was that I thought it's time to go to Thailand, and I was purchasing, or at least trying to purchase, 5 different tickets for my family to Thailand. And this all relates to digital identity, and I will explain why. So what is the problem with checkout decisioning? You have to make a lot of decisions during checkout. You have to make it very, very fast. And a lot of merchants are doing it with different systems. So sometimes they have some manual review. So there is authorization, then you review it, and if you think it's fraud, you will void it. A lot of rules that are configured, this amount and that IP, and the IP is not matching the card, and things like this, maybe it's fraud. And also a lot of merchants are using third-party data sources to try to have more data to make more accurate decisions. But they are making a lot of decisions normally based on this single transaction and everything they see about this transaction. And this is not just happening on the checkout, although everyone here is payment and fraud people. It happened across the whole journey. So someone is trying to log in. Is that the person that is logging into his account? Someone is creating the account. Is this a bot? Is it a good bot? Is it a bad bot? Do you need to stop it? There is what happened at the payment itself, 3DS. Do you want to authenticate the person or not? Is that a good experience? Will that harm your transaction? Do you need it? What happened when they call you and they say, I want to return it. Can you give me back the money? I'm sending you back the goods. I never got the package. What do? And of course, there is the chargeback later. And the problem here is that you have to make a lot of decisions on a lot of interactions happening all day long on your website. And when you try to make these decisions based on the one-off interaction, even if you look at every possible data point during the interaction, you're missing something very important. You're missing the common theme between all this interaction. And this is the person that is trying to do all these things. So he logged in, and then he tried to buy, and then he wanted to return, and hopefully then he didn't charge back. But there is a common theme behind all this interaction. So what is digital identity? When we talk about digital identity, we talk at a lot of different things that at the end of the day, define who is the person behind the interaction. It is not a single thing. It is not an email address and a shipping address. Because if someone is using my email address and my credit card, it doesn't mean that this is Galit now buying from the website. It means that someone is using my card and my detail to buy. But it's not the real identity behind the transaction. So when we talk about, or if you even look at an account ID, so you look at an account ID, that's not the identity. It can be someone else that logged into this account. It can be an identity that has 5 different accounts with you. One of them was created 5 years ago, and one 2 years ago, like I'm always doing, because I never remember the password that I put, so I just keep creating new accounts. The real identity is someone that you actually know for 5 years. So we want to look at the email and the username patterns. We want to look at device manipulation. We want to look at the operating system, the browser, the fingerprint, the purchase patterns, behavior analytical, a lot of different things that will help us understand who is really this person that is now trying to engage with you. Digital commerce depends on trust. I think everybody would agree on this sentence. And when you think about it as trust, you ask yourself the question at every interaction, do I know this entity, person trying to do this interaction? Do I trust them? And when you start from a question of trust, and if you look here, you can think about everything in your business, whether it's login, payment, do you send to 3DS, do you decline because you're afraid it's fraud, do you agree to the return, do you agree that someone told you never received the package, is he lying or not? It all depends on trust. And when you start from a trust question, it's not about, wow, this is 5,000 euro in the middle of the night. Probably someone stole Galit's card. It's about, oh, here is Galit. We know her from before. Yes, she's trying to buy something very big today, but that's OK. So when you start from trust, instead of looking on a one-off transaction, you will approve more, and you will make much more accurate decisions. So what does understanding identity enable you to do? And I will say it here, we are not talking exactly today about how to understand the identity. Understanding the identity is super, super complicated. I think we'll talk about it also in the panel today. It's not just about connecting a few different parameters that you see together. It's more complicated than that. And today we really want to talk about, but if you know the identity, and there are companies out there like Forter that can help you with this, if you know the identity, what can you do? And you can minimize your false declines. You can provide a better customer payment journey. For example, you would not send my mom to complete a 3DS because you would know that she's never going to do it. And if you trust her, you don't want to ask her to do it. You can increase your average value transaction because you will not be scared of the transaction just because it's a high amount. You can offer a lot of things to your customers. Free shipping, it's expensive, but you want to do it if it makes sense for you. Faster returns. And of course, more than anything else, you will be able to accurately block the bad actors. So let's look at a few examples to understand what can you do if you know the identity behind the transaction. So we start by stopping bad actors, because I think this is like the #1 reason that merchants are looking at identity. This is Jessica. She's using her phone to order makeup to her hotel room here at MPE. She suddenly forgot her makeup bag at home. She arrived to MPE. She needs to order quickly makeup to the room. Rule-based approach will say, well, we need to decline the transaction. This address is blacklisted. There are recent chargebacks. Something is wrong. Also, she's in Germany. Her card is from Sweden. Like, what's happening here? We don't like it. An identity-based approach will say, oh, we know Jessica. She's a legitimate shopper. She shops with us all the time. Yes, she's traveling to MPE, but why stop her from buying what she needs today? If we want to talk about bad actors, think about false positive. At Forter, we see a lot of transactions. Sometimes we see 13,000 different legitimate users using the same IP, 500 legitimate users use the same address, different people using the same phone number. Even if you try to combine a few of these together and say every time someone is using this IP and this address and this phone is bad, you will block a lot of people that are actually legitimate. And when you look at identity-based perspective, you will actually find a lot of weird things that are legitimate customer. So this is an example for a legitimate customer. He did 140 transactions with 6 different payment methods, with 14 different emails, with different phones, different IPs, different shipping address. If you can understand this is one person, maybe you want to allow it. What he's doing, by the way, is abuse. He's trying to look like someone else so he can enjoy your coupons. Some of our merchants are OK. As long as someone is using the coupon and still paying for a purchase, they are fine with it. If you want to stop it, you can stop it. But you need to understand it's a one person. Yes, they are playing around a little bit, but all the payment methods are there. The chargeback is not going to come. You need to understand it. Let's look at another example. You have a lot of things you want to provide to your loyal customers today. So this is Mike. He's buying a shirt for 10 euro. And you need to decide in real time if you're offering Mike free shipping or not. Free shipping is expensive, especially if you live in Israel. So shipping itself is expensive for you as the user. Rule-based approach, we say no. It's below the minimum amount for free shipping. You're not going to get Mike free shipping. If he wants, he should buy 5 more shirts, and maybe he can get the free shipping. Identity-based approach will realize that Mike is a loyal customer. He's usually buying in-store with you. It's the first time that he's buying online. And actually, you want to make his experience better. And you should encourage him by saying, you know what, here, shipping is free for you today. SCA, so we all here know SCA. We have been having PSD2 for over 2 years now, and we know that SCA and 3DS is harming our businesses a lot, and we know that there are people that will never cooperate with the 3DS challenge, like my mom, but not just her, or like me, because I never get the SMSs, because my husband gets them and he doesn't give it to me, so I can't complete the purchase. So this is Laura. She's buying a pair of shoes for 100 euro. Do you want to ask for exemption or not? Rule-based approach, we say yes, of course, 100 euro is eligible for exemption. Let's send Laura for exemption. Identity-based approach will say no. Laura is from Sweden. She's using a card issued in France. The exemption acceptance rate with her issuer is very low. And actually, you know her. And she always cooperates with the 3DS. And she even feels safe and she likes it to do the 3DS challenge. Why not send her to 3DS and make sure that the transaction will not be declined by the bank? And a lot of people will say, yes, of course, but if we send for exemption and the bank will ask for 3DS, and then we could do 3DS. Half of the time, the bank is not telling you what they want. They will do a hard decline. They will say, do not honor. And you will not understand you are supposed to be doing 3DS. But if you know Lara, and if you know the issuer, you know in advance that the right thing to do is actually to do 3DS. Payment method. So this is Geert. He's from the Netherlands. He's buying a refrigerator, and you need to decide what payment method to offer him. You will offer a deal because everybody knows that this is the most common payment method in Holland, and this is probably what he's looking for. Identity-based approach will say he is actually normally likes to use Klarna when he buys expensive stuff. So you want to first say, hi, here, you can use Klarna and help him. And the last one, item not received. So Jessica called the call center, and she claimed she bought a perfume, but the box arrived empty. What should the agent do? Rule-based approach, send a new package, say you're sorry, make Jessica happy. Identity-based approach will say no. She's an abuser. She received 4 packages. She asked for free packages 4 times already in the past 2 months. She is using different name and email addresses, but it's the same person. A lot of retail customers are losing tons of money from this kind of abuse because you pay for the perfume once and you get 4. That's really great. So I know all of you now are thinking, okay, digital identity, but what can I really do? So a few tips for you that are easier to implement on your business and related to identity, but not necessarily need to understand the full identity. Checkout page, present relevant payment methods only. Don't give them the full list. That confuses them and scares them. Personalize the payment page. Make sure they see what they are looking for. Sometimes even the logo matters. They are in France. You want to say, here is Carte Bancaire logo, even though they can use it as a Visa. Offer the one-click checkout to returning users. They want to know that you know them. They want to know that they can use what they used before, and the chances for success is higher. And always look at the intent to purchase and not at a single transaction. I was talking to a colleague yesterday here, and I said, when someone fails to purchase and it retry 10 minutes later, and looked at me and said, it's not a retry if it's 10 minutes later, it's a new transaction. Yes, financially, it's a new transaction. For the consumer, it's a retry because he tried to buy the shirt, he failed, he tries again. If you send him the same route you did 10 minutes ago, that will fail. So if you ask for exemption, it failed, you need to send him to 3DS. When it comes to fraud, your fraud management solution must understand the identity of the customer behind the transaction. When you go choose a fraud solution, you have to ask that question. You have to make sure they really understand the identity. You want to provide frictionless experience to your trusted customers and send the more risky one to additional authentication. So it's not about the amount. If the amount is high, but you can trust the customer, no need to send him for 3DS just because the amount is high. When making a decision if to leverage 3DS, you have to look at the risk, and you have to look at the identity. Where are they now? Are they abroad? They will never get the SMS on time, even if they are using their own SIM. How old are they? Like, I'm sorry, a lot of the older people during COVID started to buy online. They're still having a very hard time with SMSs of the 3DS. What's the likelihood of frictionless? What country they are from? Are they on mobile or not? A lot of things will impact the question, will they actually be able to cooperate with the 3DS? So this is just a few tips, and just to summarize it, and then we can go for the panel, and you will be able to ask more questions during the panel. When we talk about digital identity, you want to make more accurate decisions based on the identity behind the transaction and behind the interaction. You want to use probabilistic linking to connect identities to know if someone is good. If you know me, there is a good chance that my husband is not fraud. Improve customer experience in every interaction. Just think about how much you could do if your call center would know when someone calls in how much money is spent online and in-store together. Just this alone. How can they know that he has 4 different accounts and he actually spent so much money in the past 4 years with you? That probably will make a difference in the way your customer service will agree to something they're asking for. You want to optimize the checkout flow. You want to make it frictionless. You want to make it easy to everybody that you trust. And of course, that's like the obvious, but you want to stop the bad actors. And you want to detect the bad actors so you can stop them, not just stopping someone because maybe he looks like he is doing something weird. Yes, a lot of people today are doing a lot of different things that are not trivial. They are shopping from different places. They are all around the world. They are using their mobile. They are using a VR device right now to maybe buy something. They are doing a lot of things. And you need to ask yourself the question, do I understand who is behind this interaction? And do I trust them? Because this is the #1 question. And if you can answer correctly the question of, do I trust this person? Everything now becomes so much easier. And it's not anymore about the amount which is high, the time of the day, the fact that this person visited MPE and never is making purchases from Berlin. So it's all about trust, and it's all about really understanding the digital identity. Thank you.